Hey everybody, thanks for joining our lunch and learn today. I'm going to be here for any questions that you guys might have, and we can work through these together. I see Wade, you have your hand raised.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I had I think a quick question. Had the ask of trying to figure out the username of the device. So our a internal user to our company would log into their computer with a username. And is there any way from decisions to capture that username that they logged into on the device or through the browser?
So are we just trying to audit logins, or are we trying to capture this in a flow running scenario?
Uh, Capture in a flow running scenario because they didn't. The ask was them to not necessarily log into decisions, but still know who they are.
Okay, are you using single sign-on for decisions?
Yes.
Okay, so what you might be able to do, let me think. So are these users when they're accessing this page or whatever functionality they're interacting with, are they using a guest user account, or are they using their single sign-on account to gain access to this page?
They are currently using their single sign-on account to access it, but
Okay.
they wanted to be able to them not have to do that, not be single sign-on, but still somehow know who they are.
Okay, so with the single sign-on, we store the account emails and user identifiers in our database. And so what you can do for any flows, there should be a default, some default data that's populated in the flows. Let me see if I can just pull this up for you really quick and then share my screen. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
All right, so in a flow, um, we have a bunch of default parameters. So I'm just going to use a create data step to demonstrate this. And we should be able to get the current user or whoever is running this flow from the flow data. We have the current account. And so this will, whoever executes this flow, it's going to pick up their account. So if you need to run have any restricted access or anything that's handled programmatically, this is another way that you could do this too.
And this is if they're logged in under single sign-on.
Yes, that's correct. If they're using a
Uh,
guest account, I think the only option there would be if we passed a URL parameter on redirect. How are they navigating to decisions if they were to be using a guest account or not be logging in or using name
To
session?
Yeah, I believed a name session was my first thought. Yeah, I know it's kind of a weird ask, but yeah, they were like, if we had a name session where anybody could log in, where they wouldn't have to be logged in, could you still know who they are from somehow grabbing that information from the device itself or from the browser?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
If they're So would they be redirected from a different site, or would they be navigating directly to this uh, dashboard or whatever?
Uh, I guess that part's not really built yet. I mean, they'd be navigating from another site. I don't know what, potentially from another site, I guess, but they could also maybe just this directly. I guess either way.
Yeah, I think if there is if there's no type of account management along this path, or we don't have any authentication or that user providing information. I don't know if there's a way that we can get that information.
Okay.
What I was thinking is if you if you have a base website that they're being redirected to whatever decisions functionality from using a name session, and that base site has some sort of authentication, what you might be able to do is pass like a username as a URL parameter, and then pick that up
Okay.
in the flow.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, I told him like I mean, with single sign-on, sure, you know who it is, but to actually grab the username of the device that they're on, like I don't think it can access that far because it doesn't even ask, decisions doesn't, if you get permissions on your computer, you get the pop-up like, what user are you and that sort of stuff. But I was like, I don't think decisions can pull that far to reach all the way into your computer and get your username of your computer.
Yeah, browsers are usually pretty sandboxed
Yeah.
from what the JavaScript and the browser's allowed to access on the actual physical device as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. And yeah, thank you for the info.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that you asked a question in the chat. Would you like to um, us to add you so you can elaborate on this a little bit?
Yes. Hi, Andrew. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so we have this form that we included a report in it, and we want like each record, each row of that report that you can see in the form to have a delete button at the end, and that button would remove that row from the report that you can see. Also, remove it from like delete it from the data structure, like from the database that this report pulls data from. So I was thinking like an active form flow that is linked to that button that takes some key data from that record and then goes to like deletes that record from the database. But I wasn't sure how to do the link of that specific row to be deleted from the database and be included in the active form flow if that's the right approach.
Okay, and is this report being viewed on a dashboard or on a form?
One moment. It's it's a page. So a page that includes the form in it.
Okay. So yeah, what we have is we actually have. I'm going to share my screen again here.
Okay.
We have a couple options for having the ability to run a flow inline.
Okay.
I think it's changed a little bit in our most recent version. I know we used to have buttons, but we can. I'm just going to create a quick report here. Okay, and then so what we have as well is we have some, so I guess you have two options here. So on your data structure, you could create an action. So that way you would have, right click on the row and then the option to delete it. If you want a button that is in line with that item, you should be able to do I believe it's under our calculated columns. Let's see. Should have a run flow inline field. And I'm just going to create one really quickly.
Just a quick update here from my colleague. This report, it's in an advanced data grid, which is in a form, and that's in a page. I don't
Okay.
think this could make any changes, right?
I think that this should still be able to be used. Something else, there might be a couple other options if you wanted to use an active form flow, but this run flow field should also be available.
Okay.
And then from here, you know, we could do a show form that would pop another form up over top, you know, if you need confirmation or something along those lines that you actually want to delete that entity. And so within each row, you know, we're going to get the availability of, I'm just going to do account ID. We should get all of these fields available here in the report. So if I go to select from flow, I have my selected row, and then I can pick the field. So if I know that I have my data structure ID as the first field, I could pick field 1 and then, you know, pass that ID into a delete step for that data structure from the user defined types. What you can do there as well, here, I'm just going to save and close this portion really quickly. So the best way to delete things is going to be based on ID, because that way we know we're not going to delete duplicates. And what you can do is you can actually set, you know, this ID column, since that's not going to be helpful for the user to see if anything is going to muddy things up. We can actually just make this so that it's not visible. And then that way, you know, it doesn't interact with anything that the user would see, but we still have that information when we're passing it into this run flow field. And so for this, we can set, you know, a specific value. Let's say delete account, and then so we would have this option here to delete account, or it would be, you know, deleting your data structure. Do you know what type of data structure you're using?
It's a defined data structure.
Yeah, it is defined data structure.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Muzaffar.
So the process which I used is that I used the infield run flow option is there, right, in this, in advanced columns when you add it. So what I did was I directly derived the delete entity from that particular data structure, user defined one, user defined types. And what I mapped in the input is that I mapped in the selected row, but directly. So doesn't that work?
Yeah, that should work as well.
Yeah, and another thing is that as soon as we delete it, I want it to be refreshed, that particular report. So earlier there was a option of adjusting the refresh option, right, in this particular reports. I cannot find it right now.
Yeah, there should be an option in the report.
Yeah. So I was trying to map the refresh step, but it is not working currently. Don't know what is the reason. Maybe the mapping thing, but it's not working currently.
So yeah, what we should be able to do, this is actually going to be dependent on the just save this. This is going to be dependent on the form component settings. So let's just go ahead and create a form. So you might, are you navigating through multiple forms on this dashboard in this flow run part?
No, the thing is that I use this particular data grid and I mapped in my particular data type which I created, and I named it as a data result input name. And before that, there are some particular data which we enter in the earlier form. Some fields are there. So I mapped in, I use the create entity step there, which we have in our user defined types. And I mapped that using the fetch entities into this direct thing. So what that does is the data which we entered earlier gets created, entered into the data type, and that using fetch entities, we are deriving it and entering it in this particular data grid. And after that, in this particular, depending on the type of fields we entered in the data structure while creating the data type. So I added another infield run flow thing, which states the remove option. So once we click it, the added one should be deleted. This is the current requirement which is needed. This is how the ideal working should be. When we click remove, the data entered earlier should be deleted.
Understood. So I guess you have, I mean, you do have a couple options there. It almost sounds like using a report viewer directly on this dashboard, if possible, would be better, because that way you can just you can actually control the refresh settings. The main, because we don't have you know, anything directly on here for our forms to delete and update this report, since it's purely going to be just complete an action. But I can look into this. If we have inline edit, I wonder if we have. Yeah, I think this is something that's not yet available on our advanced data grid. What I think might be best here, if we open up a support ticket, and somebody can go and look through your project with you, that might be most helpful here. And then that way we can actually give you the, you know, best recommendations possible, instead of, you know, me just hearing about it and giving a recommendation that might not be right for you.
Okay.
If you would like, can you private message me in the chat your email? If you should be able to send it directly to me.
What's your email?
Or I can put my email in here as well, and then I can put in a support ticket on your behalf. And yeah, so just if you shoot me an email, I'll get that support ticket in as soon as this meeting's over. And then a support engineer should reach out to you and get on a call with you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, sure thing. And really quick, I saw that Radley had a question as well.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going, Radley?
Good, man. How are you today?
Doing well.
Awesome. So in my production environment, once I log in, you know, when I close the tab, close the browser, restart my machine, I remain logged in, right? I don't have to put in my credentials again. In dev, that is not the case. Even if I log in on one tab, I open a new tab, go to my dev site, I have to log in again on that tab. Just curious what the setting is that would allow me to just remain logged in dev like I am in prod.
This sounds like a session cookie based thing here. So is production so with production, this doesn't have, you don't have to log back in. With dev, if you even open up a new tab, you have to log in again.
Correct. Yep.
If you duplicate a tab, do you also get prompted to log in again?
No, duplicate keeps me logged in.
Are you using single sign-on?
No.
Okay.
We are in production. We are integrated with Active Directory. In dev, we are not.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the session cookie for decisions is getting dropped off for some reason in the new tab. Give me just one moment. I want to look at something. And have you tried to empty your browser cache?
I haven't.
Could you try that really quick?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some like leftover session cookie that didn't get cleared.
Clearing it now. No. So I logged in the dev and then opened the new tab. Then went to the site and it's prompted me for username and password.
If you open up Chrome DevTools and just run a new tab again, do you get any errors in your network logging?
On the console tab, I get error with permissions policy header, unrecognized feature.
Interesting. When you're navigating to the decisions URL in a new tab, what are you hitting any relative path, or are you just hitting your domain name?
Just the oh, there it is. Okay, so that must have been it. So when I only put in the domain name, it comes right up. I must have something in my favorites then that is causing that.
Okay.
Okay, so that solved it. Thank you for that's pretty simple. Thank you for walking me through that.
Yeah, sure thing. And yeah, really quick. It looks like we have a couple announcements for everybody that's joined today. Before we continue with questions, I'm going to share a slide really quickly, talk about a few of these things. Yeah, so later this week, tomorrow and Thursday, we have Jared from our training team and Thad, who's also from our support team, coming to answer any questions you guys have. And here's an announcement in case you missed it. The end of life date has been set for all of our versions up to and including version 6. If anybody here is still on version 6 of Decisions. And so for new projects or questions on how to upgrade, you can reach out to our support team if you need help. Also, we have our installer at releases.decisions.com. We're happy to help you with any of these updates that you need to go through or that you plan to go through. And yeah, so these are our end of life dates, just in case you guys haven't seen them yet. And yeah, so it looks like we have a next product roadmap. It looks like our development team is going to be sharing information about the future of our platform, new features that might be coming out, or new functionality that will help you use our product better. And if anybody would like the link to this registration page as well, I'm happy to share that with you. Going to drop that in the chat for everybody. All right, and that was it for our announcements. Does anybody else here have any questions that they need help with? All right, if there's no more questions, it was great having everybody. Feel free to join tomorrow as well if you have more questions arise, or anytime between Monday and Thursday, and we'll be happy to help you out with any problems you're having. All right, bye everybody.